Good morning, everybody in Facebook land. So, the last couple of days, I've been feeling the heat ever since the muscle spasm. This virus, though I'm not feeling major symptoms, but I feel the heat. And luckily, I have the insulation. Okay. The covalent bonding, the heat are the viral transducers upgrading every aspect of my immune system that is also doing like a 3D printing using the food supply to build up my muscle mass, cell regeneration, keeping my body, mind, and spirit aligned with the environment and keeping me clear-headed and able to defend myself from another viral upload. Why defend yourself? Why say that? Because yes, when you have a lot of viruses in the environment, the body has to find a way to mediate without any intermediaries and deal with new constituents of the environment. And so you also have a defense system in your body that should be able to help transition you to the environment without overwhelming the system, shorting it out. Okay? And so it dawned on me yesterday how lucky I was that at some point I gave up the medical holistic system. I didn't get the flu shots. Yeah, I was in the military and I re-enlisted at one point. So I got all my shots, I would say in the early 90s, as far as after my childhood shots. And I got my shots in the middle like in the early 2000 when I went and re-enlisted and then transferred to another base in Mississippi. And so, yeah, I mean, and I remember actually in 2000, before 9/11, contracting the flu, that it was so intense, okay, so intense that no one seemed to get. And not saying that it was because of the vectors from MEPS or anything, but it was some kind of protein that was woken up by other viruses and it was activated. And it was only me that came down with that flu. And I think the reason why is because people were taking the vectors that would help lower the heat. And so that's why I was the only one that experienced that very aggressive virus when I was at that office, the occupation over there in Danville. Oh my God. And I'm like, why am I the only one feeling such heat? Like it was the headache, it was the dizziness, it was the diarrhea, it was the throwing up, it was just the nauseating, this is in 2000. And it was because, yeah, I didn't have some kind of intermediary to help me deal with that very aggressive flu season. And I think I got another flu. I think I got two more flus after that when I first came to Ohio here in 2010. But it wasn't like so much of the headache, but it was more of the respiratory side, the coughing really deep. And so here in Ohio in 2010, I got a respiratory flu. And then when we went to Florida, we did a Florida thing, sort of like middle South Florida. And I got really sick when I was in Florida. And that was in 2010 as well. So, tell you what, viruses are no joke. And luckily I had enough substance to me to deal with the coughing. I mean, yeah, it was very uncomfortable and I was taking Theraflu and NyQuil and all that stuff back then. And so I survived it all, dealt with it. I mean, God. But I really, I didn't know that was going to be, well, that's why they push the vaccinations, because not everybody can handle that aggressive energy. And so they haven't properly prepared people to deal with aggressive energy. I've been feeling the heat the last couple of days. Like I've been feeling the heat and I could feel it. It's like a heat, it rises up, and then it disappears. And I've been sweating a lot too, and it's a viral energy. So I'm seeing what it's like to be in an environment, very aggressive environment with a lot of viral energy floating through my backyard. And I'm breathing it in. The wind blows. If I go and get like McDonald's like I did yesterday, or, you're exposed to so much, you can't get away from your environment. And so the reason why I'm not getting super sick like I did a couple, like back in May, June, July, because I already got all the different symptoms from the COVID-19, and I got all the different like severity levels. So in the beginning, it was the headaches, and it was the body aches, muscle aches, and then it was a respiratory side. And now it's just the heat, feeling the heat, and maybe being hungry, maybe feeling a little bit of the sugar drop. And that's about it. And so this is, and so I want to, like, I have figured out how lucky I was that I did not partake in the medical industry at such a level, because I didn't have access to insurance. It was either you had to have a full-time job and hold on to it, and I was going from job to job to job, never really realizing my benefits. And when I did, I'd be out anyways later on, because I would just be moving. I would be evolving, moving, evolving, and moving. So I never really held on to health insurance in my 20s, in my 30s, even in my 40s. I think when I actually held on to health insurance in my 30s, when maybe a year or so, I had some college that I was in college, and I had health insurance during that time. And that's when I thought I could do Prozac or talk with Kaiser about the PMDD, but no, Prozac was out of the question. And then I stopped paying that insurance because it was a waste. I wasn't using it for anything. I don't call the doctor all the time and say, hey, I got something wrong with me, please fix it. And so I've always dealt with my evolutionary deficits. And that meant that, I would go from job to job. And so, I would get laughed at and admonished and sneered at by my family, by my friends, by the people, like my new employers. And they're like looking at my resume going like, what the hell? You went from job to job to job. Like, they look at you as if you're some kind of less than normal. They look at you as just like shit. And I didn't realize I was going through evolutionary symptoms. Oh no, they happen to have access to health insurance to squelch their evolution, right? They happen to have all their drugs at their disposal and taking out organs and all that stuff. And so they pride themselves to be like, better than me. Oh no, when I'm like having PMDD, I'm at home. I'm dealing with myself. I'm eating a bunch of food. I'm feeling whatever I feel. And if it means I have to call in sick to work because I can't make it because I'm feeling like shit, I call in sick and it doesn't win me any great reviews. And then, I'm fired or let go or not taken on as a permanent because I was a temp. And so I, even though that was my life for many years and I was sneered at for many years, like people looked down on me for many fucking years, okay? That actually held me in good stead, because look at where people are now who are laughing at me now. They're dealing with autoimmune disorders. They're dealing with cancer. They have so many issues. They're aging and degrading, and they're afraid of this virus, and they're taking all their therapeutics, and they're so addicted to the system. And I dealt with my shit. I dealt with being sneered at, people laughing at me because I couldn't hold a job because I was dealing with evolutionary symptoms once a freaking month. And there was nothing for me at the time. Even I tried to go to every single, my mom goes, go to a woman doctor because she probably will know better. I said, I went to a woman doctor and she was just prescribing birth control pills, Yasmin or some other stuff. Or then I started contemplating, actually right before the JJ mentality, I was contemplating a hysterectomy. I was willing to just gut into me and just take everything out because I was so fed up. And I think that's when the angels, whatever, came down and said, you are not going to damage your body because you want to fit into this fucked up society. You are not going to butcher yourself so you can fit in with these people who are so messed up, who are on their way out the door. I'm going to give you, and this is what just my way of interpreting what was going on without it actually really happening. But I'm thinking the angels were saying, we're not going to allow you to butcher yourself like everyone else. We're not going to allow you to become a drug addict. We're not going to allow you to become dependent on prescription meds. We're not going to allow you to do all that. We're going to make you deal with evolution at its purest form. And that's understanding salt, sugar, and food. And you're going to go through many different stages of being sneered at, being attacked, learning about the salt, the sugar, the vegetables, the food, the carbs, the meat, the milk, the eggs, and all of that. And you're going to deal with that stuff and understand them in their most isolated form too, because I would take almost everything away from the diet in the beginning, though you had chicken and you had eggs and you had potatoes and fruits and vegetables and nuts and oils and all that stuff. So you had enough food in the beginning, but it was very conservative based upon the holistic market. And then over time, we added more food and you dealt with the symptoms. You knew you could survive it. Eventually, when you got through the first trimester of the JJ mentality, you finally figured out you could survive your symptoms. And then you're in a cured state and it's happy, happy, joy, joy. But now here's this new COVID-19 that then broke through your cured state and forced you to deal with evolution. Though, maybe I did a few waterfalls in 2020, but I really wanted to feel the issues. I didn't want to waterfall it away. Something told me not to waterfall it away and just to eat meat when I had the headaches. And just deal with it. Take the naps and, write the book, take the naps, write the book, eat the food, deal with the crap. And so over time, we figured out that, yeah, you have to feel your environment. You cannot be in a cured state. And also, if you partake in the medical holistic system, they will contribute to all of your deficits. And so I pride myself that I did not follow in everyone else's footsteps. I pride myself that, yeah, I suffered a lot in my 20s, in my 30s, in my 40s, occupationally, friends-wise, because people were like, well, what the hell? You keep moving, you keep doing this, because I have to keep moving. If I stay here, I'm gonna die in this area. Because first of all, people are not supporting me because they don't understand how to support me. They're all in their cured state, like, oh yeah, everything is great, and they're following that formulaic type of thing. And I'm telling them, oh, I'm in a different job now and I'm doing this. And they look at you like you're such an unstable degenerate. Oh, I tell you, I got so much fucking ridicule from my family and friends. And oh God, I remember those days. And now in almost my 50s, I don't have any kind of disease. I'm not underweight. I'm not overweight. I am balanced. I have put myself on an island because everyone out there is dealing with some shit that I don't really want to deal with at this point. Bless their heart. They will have to figure it out. I've dropped enough information and I am at peace and I am cultivating my brain. But it wasn't without a fucking fight. I'm telling you, I fought my way to this point, and not because of the last 5 years. It was the last 30 years of my life dealing with my family and friends, my so-called friends back then. And so that's why I don't really talk to my family a lot, because they all pride themselves to be in a cured state. They all think that they're doing better than I'm doing. I managed to hang on to a relationship for 10 years. I managed to stay in one place for at least 10 years. I managed to figure out some shit for at least 10 years. I think I'm doing okay. Oh yeah, they have kids and they have a degree and they're in their little political party thinking that they're all knowing everything, and they're overweight with endometriosis and have all this other crap going on, and you think you're doing better than me. And I'm not saying I'm doing better than you, but I don't think you have room to sneer and to, well, I don't know. But part of me is remembering what it was like not partaking in the medical holistic system. Something inside me knew even before. I knew in the military not to take the anthrax shot. That's why I got out of the military, because I was very leery of all the different injections, even prior to all this stuff, even prior to my conspiracy world. Because back in 2000 was when George Bush was freezing all the discharge from the military, and they went to war with Iraq. And I got out right before, because the unit that I was in Mississippi was a very active unit, and they were requiring everyone to get the anthrax shot. And I was deathly afraid of shots. I did not like shots. And then I was listening to all the different rhetoric about the anthrax shots. I don't even know where, because it wasn't like the internet was that prevalent to me, and I wasn't on it. We didn't have Facebook. We didn't have, MySpace at that time. Well, we did. No, we did not. MySpace was like in 2000 something. But back in 2000, it was just, what the news was talking about. That's all it was the news. Oh, the anthrax shot or something. There was some kind of controversy about it. I don't even know where the hell I heard it from. Maybe it was a radio, NPR or something. I don't know. But I was deathly afraid of it. So I told my commander, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to conscientiously object, because I don't think I could do this anthrax shot. I can't do it. And so that's why I got out of the military the second time around. The first time around, I was like, I wasn't ready for it. Second time around, I was like, okay, all right, I want to do it, but I didn't realize to what extent, and it was actually going against my morals. And so somehow something told me that maybe at this point you need to question all the medical treatments out there. You just need to question it. Now I understand why they exist, and that's why I say, I think, parents and the system have a responsibility for the first 10 years of a kid's life to transition them, because they're going to have predispositions. They're going to carry your predispositions and anything else that goes on in utero. And you need to feed the kid and have them understand symptoms and mucus and headaches and all this stuff, not force them to be in school every single freaking day because you want them to perform at such a high level at such a young age and deplete their bodies. And you help them transition to an environment, to a physical environment, then to a biological environment, into a microbial environment. And then you start cultivating the brain when they actually have a connection between their body, mind, and spirit. When they understand what mucus is. When their body says it's time to take a nap, take a freaking nap. Okay? But we have conditioned our kids to be such little, so advanced at such a young age, getting themselves into adult situations, which, okay, yeah, nowadays you're seeing the merging where you don't even see the differentiation between adulthood and childhood. It's like as soon as girls have puberty, they're like little women. You can't tell that they're still, they're 14, 13, they look like they're in their 20s. And so, yeah, men out there who have issues anyways are going to be like, oh, wow, a young thing, and then things happen. Well, can you blame them? I'm not saying it's right, but our girls and boys are looking like little freaking adults. And then I'm watching Netflix, Riverdale, and yeah, it's all about teenagers in adult situations doing adult things. And I'm like, holy crap. And so, so we have so many kids with stilted, stagnated development in their brain and in their intelligence, that we have them in adult bodies with childlike minds running around acting as if they're grown up, and they're not. They're just faking it. They're faking it. And so, yeah, it's agonizing to watch adult children try to grow up in a very unforgiving society. And so, so I'm happy that I didn't partake too much in the mainstream in my 20s, 30s, and 40s, because it paved the way for me to be where I am today. And so while everyone out there who was in a cured state had the time of their life in their 20s and their 30s and maybe their 40s, and they did all these things, now they're watching their bodies fall apart because they took part in the cured state of being. They didn't realize that it was all about thermodynamics, because guess what? The system's not going to teach you physics. They're going to teach you physics relative to academia, and then feeding you into all the different electrical engineering or engineering companies that are trying to siphon the energy out of the people. So you're not going to understand the third law of thermodynamics, that if you're in a cured state, the environment's going to cannibalize you and your body's going to fall apart, and your plastic surgery and your vectors and your operations and your pills, powder supplements, detoxes are only going to last so long. And then you got to go switch to another strain and another brand and another this so you can get the same kind of whatever. And then in the meantime, you're destroying your evolution, putting yourself more in a deficit. And that's what cancer, disease, chronic illness, and autoimmune disorders are. They're all deficit diseases. And that's why it's on the insert. Because yes, if you keep partaking in these vectors, they're taking away your evolution. The environment's still working against you. You're not really retaining the food supply, because the amount of energy your body is using up when it's being activated, because you are exposed to an environment that's causing your immune system to create antibodies, regardless if it's antagonist or agonist, then you are depleting. The body is using up more energy than you're able to retain. And so, yeah, all your vectors and everything, all your turmeric and honey and your apple cider vinegar and all your rife machines and hot and yoga cryotherapy and cold yoga, hot yoga, jumping into the polar ice caps so you can feel, that's all taking so much energy out of you. That's taking substance away from you. So then you're out there and there's nothing to you because you have a cute little body because you want to look cute in this environment. And then a big ass virus, big load of virus comes in and freaking, you feel the heat. All of a sudden you're coming down with something that just caused your immune system to produce so much mucus that you're drowning in your own freaking mucus. And that's why people end up on ventilators and in the hospital or contracting cancer disease and chronic illness, because it's the vectors and it's the constant suppressing your energy and constant going into extreme heat or extreme cold, and you don't have enough insulation, and you're also partaking in the herbs. Yeah, how does your body fucking stand a chance when you're destroying it at every level, every facet of society? There's no freaking way. There's no freaking way. So thank God the JJ mentality exists. You stay on JJ too long, you'll end up just like the crypt keeper. Okay? Be no different than a chemotherapy patient at the end of their line if you stay on the JJ too long. Because JJ is energy. It is the catalyst to evolution, but it also will destroy your substance if you stay on it and you are not balancing it with so much food. But even if you drink here's the thing, people take so much J juice and they eat food, that food just goes right through them. Because they're in a cured state, so the food is not coating them. So the food just kind of goes through like a garbage disposal, doesn't do anything. It just goes through. It goes into your whatever, and then out through your alimentary canal, and maybe it gives you some superficial energy, but it's not coating. So that's why people can eat. That's why people can eat so much when they're drinking a bunch of J juice after they've already triggered the latent viruses. And they keep doing the J juice, right? And they're eating a bunch of food. They're not gaining any weight. They're not coating. They're not putting on any substance. There's no real insulation. And so the food does nothing for someone who is continuously on the J juice. See, J juice is very temporary. Now, I know when someone is very obese, they can afford to be on J juice because they have a lot of substance to burn through. And yeah, it's going to be painful. And it's going to be uncomfortable, and you got to get the poop out because you're going to feel bloated. I mean, you're going to also have the swelling because the antidiuretic hormone, and so you have to factor all those things into play. And not that it's impossible, but yeah, obesity has a whole lot of issues. Not that it's impossible, but it's still. When you're underweight, you only need to do a few things of J juice, a few sets of waterfalls, and you got to eat the food supply and feel the pain. Oh God, people have an issue with that. I know people in my group have issues with that. They're so underweight and food is painful that J juice is helping them, yes, eat the food and enjoy it and have their life back, but they haven't earned that. They're at another state of execution because they got to feel the pain, feel the vibrations, feel it all from the food supply. And so, this whole JJ mentality is for a very few people. But I wanted to show you the evidence. When you juxtaposition someone who has been in the system, in the medical system for their whole fucking life, and then you juxtaposition someone who has not used the medical system, but is not also letting the system destroy them, like their friends and family with all their holistic supplements or just ignoring your issues. No, I'm telling you, I have not partaken in the medical holistic system for the last couple years. And I understand the power of food. I understand the power of viruses, and I understand the power of pain and feeling the heat. I understand the physics of covalent and ionic bonding. And that's all I need. I don't need some vector. Now, at some point, that's going to be required to even move around in the society. But here's the thing. Just like I said, once you reverse all your issues, and you have a lot of issues, you guys, you know that salt can put you in a cured state. The JJ can put you in a cured state. So yeah, you go get a vector, show proof, on paper that you can handle the environment. And you do a bunch of J juice and neutralize those activated antibody mRNA stuff and neutralize their intentions. And then guess what? You do a few waterfalls, eat a bunch of food, deal with whatever it feels like to get that vector, and you'll be fine. Because I was around vectored people. I was around people who've been vaccinated. They were shedding everything all over me. back in May. And then June, July is when I felt the respiratory. And it was probably their proteins plus whatever's in the air. And guess what? I survived being around someone who was shedding their programming of the mRNA. So you can survive the vectors. If you understand the waterfalls and you understand eating food, the food supply, you're going to have to feel pain no matter what. And then eventually when you reverse all your issues and you have now your passport and you have to go travel, you're not traveling a lot, because if you travel a lot, that means that you have to be constantly in an asymptomatic state, in a cured state, and you can't be in it like that for a long ass time. You have to evolve. You have to then come home and be sick. You have to come home and evolve. And that's what the system is trying to do, is have everyone who wants to evolve stay your ass at home and not have your evolution leak on other people, or de-evolution, because people out there are glitching like an MFer, making bad choices, devolving, and taking everyone down with them. Well, if you want to evolve, what happens is your evolution could actually trigger someone's de-evolution. So then you stay your ass at home if you want to evolve. But if you want to be out there in public, you must be asymptomatic. Maybe a vector can help you, and maybe the J juice can help you, and maybe both in combination. But if you have to be out there every Friday night, because you have to be out there with your friends and your family and everything, you'll be constantly in a state of a cured state. And then guess what? The environment cannibalizes you. And then you start seeing the circles under people's eyes, the lack of collagen. They're so skinny, they're aging, they're losing their hair because they're not coding. They have to be asymptomatic, which means that they either doing a bunch of J juice or they have a bunch of vectors and they're not eating. And so they're trying to dry up their mucus, so they're not dropping mucus RPGs. They're aging. And so the system is trying to force people to finally be autonomous and stop acting out there and stop trying to think that the world is all about drinking and having all this fun. And you got to do the work. You got to evolve. We need higher caliber humans out there. We have a lot of people who are glitching. They're stuck in a very adolescent state, making crappy choices and then trying to blame everyone else around them. But it's their fault that you made crappy choices. At some point, humanity must grow the fuck up. And I'm being serious. I'm tired of watching people try to grow up and having to raise children. I mean, that must be the toughest freaking thing, is to start growing up when you're an adult, and you have to then teach your kids how to grow up, and you're making so many mistakes. Your kid's going to watch me make all those mistakes. And they probably will repeat them unless you really know how to turn them around. So anyways, that's kind of my thing, but I want you to see the two sides of it. And so if you know a little bit about my story, about what I had to deal with, because thank God I was poor as a kid. Thank God I did not have the health insurance. Thank God. But I'm glad that the first, 10, 15 years of my life, I had the medical system to help me transition to this new environment. And then somehow, subconsciously, I knew when to get off the tit. Some people don't know when to get off the tit, and then guess what? They're not accountable for their actions. At some point, you've got to separate yourself and be autonomous. All right, bye.